Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back, everyone. This is going to be our video number 38. We're still finishing the fi'al thulathi mazid fi, meaning that the basic three root letter verbs that other letters are added to it, so it makes it different forms. So far we've talked about form 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and today we're going to be discussing form 8 as to what extra is added to the basic root letter verb. Okay, so in this case we have the basic root letter that we're going to be talking here is qariba. Meaning to be close. Qarib, to be close. So what's added here is extra. Is we have the alif, and then we have the the ta. So now, but it's not coming in the beginning like we did in the form 7 when it came in the beginning, but it wasn't alif ta, it was alif and noon. Like the basic root is qalaba, and then alif noon came, so now it becomes in qalaba. So here that alif and ta is not coming to the beginning. The alif is coming in the beginning, and then ta, and then sorry, alif, and then qaf, ta, and then ra, and then ba. So this is the order. So this is new, that's added to the verb. So how do we write this together? We're going to write it here. So I'm going to go here to ماضي اقترب. اقترب. So the first letter here after the alif gets a sukun, excuse me, and then here's the extra letter that's added, alif and ta is added. The basic root is qaf, ra, and ba. Excuse me. So now you read it as iqtaraba, and then we plug it in, and then we come up with the same formula that we've used for all of the verbs so far. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this so we have the space for when we come to the zarf for this. So now let's do the conjugation for the madi and mudari and all of that. So we have iqtaraba yaqtaribu, yaqtaribu, yaqtaribu. And then we have iqtiraban. This becomes the masdar. Iqtiraban. And then it becomes فهو مقترب. 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 Okay. So قريب means close. So اقترب means to become close. So this form 8, all the verbs that falls in this pattern, meaning that it's the action is with oneself. The action, like in this case, to become close to something, right? And then also it means that the action is mutual between two people. Like if they want to study, so they are doing it together. If they're striving, they're doing it together. So those are the reasons why we have form 8, right? All right, inshallah. But that's just a little brief thing so you know about the form, why is the difference between form 8 and like basically that would be form 1, right? So they all have a little bit of changes on them. So now we're going to go to Madi Majhul. So it becomes, remember in the Majhul we said the sound is ui. So now it's going to be uqu, turiba. Uqturiba. Yuqtarabu. يقت- يقترب. Mhm. And then here it remains the same اقترابا. And then اسم مفعول becomes مق here's مقترب is مقترب. مقترب. Okay, these are fathas. And then that's a dhamma, مقترب. Now we make the command like we did for all the patterns. الأمر منه, so it comes from here. الأمر منه becomes اقترب. اقترب. And then with sukun. Something else you want to keep in mind in Form 8. Form 8 is a little bit complicated, which we're not going to talk about it right now and go through everything. That's not the purpose here. It's just for me to just kind of explain on the surface level as what is Form 8 and what does it look like when we come across, when we read it. So it looks something like this. But then also in Form 8, there are certain letters that they kind of get fused together, like words that we have the slot and lot or thaw and law. So if we have these and it gets assimilated in this form, and then it sometimes it changes those slot and dot and thaw and law to a thaw, or sometimes we have hamza, wow, and ta. So then that gets change into a ta. So that's why I'm saying it's a little bit confusing. So you have to have a lot of examples and things like that to kind of get it. But just keep that in mind. Sometimes if you see something that is not fitting properly, it's like, well, it's missing something. Or what happened? How is this? Just remember that sometimes things are going to be dropped and some letters are going to be fused together. Okay. So that's just how it is. All right. So here, the reason is you're probably wondering why we have the command al-amru minhu, it's iqtarib, and here is iqtaraba, and here's iqtarib. So even though there's some changes with the ba sukun and then there's a kasra here, but it's beginning with the alif. And here, remember we talked in mudari to make it an amr, a command version, we have to get rid of the ya. So then you're stuck with the sukun. And in Arabic, you can never start with a sukun letter. You can never read a sukun letter. So there's something has to be before it's for you to read it. So here, then that's why the alif is brought back here. And that's why so you can pronounce it. So it's iqtarib, right? And then okay, so النهي عنه لا تقترب. So here the ta comes back. تقترب. But with the sukun. لا تقترب, and then والظرف منه مقترب. It's the same thing as اسم مفعول. مقترب. ترب. مقترب. All right, we talked about everything that was only changed there. And this is Form 8. Like I said, just there's a lot of changes that happens in this form. A lot of letters gets dropped or they get merged together, fused together. So that would be something to be looking for, looking out for something like that. All right, I'm going to go ahead and erase the board, and we're going to be coming back. And we have only two more forms left, Form 9 and Form 10. Which Form 9 is, and I'll tell you what it's for. We don't really use it a lot. It's used, of course, but it's not very common. But I'll just introduce it real quick, and then we move on to Form 10, inshallah. Okay, so we have Oops, sorry, I should have changed this to form. Got form 9 here. We got form 9. Okay, so here we're not going to go through the whole thing for this form because this is only used for when it's talking about colors and like body defects. So since there's not a lot of stuff on this, so I'm just going to give you the what's added, and then we're just going to move on, inshallah, to form 10. So here, so let's say if we have the basic word is ha, mim, ra. So in this form, this becomes already hamarra. So, and then what's added here, the alif is added here. And of course, when you do that, then this becomes a sukun. So it becomes ihmarra. And that means it's a color, like red. So how we write it would be, let me just write it here. Ihmarra. So basically, this is like form 2. Remember we talked about, no, sorry, not form 2. This is the muda'af verbs that we talked about where the last letter it's the same, it's repeated, like adada, qalla, or verbs like that the last letter is the same thing but it's double. So here it's hamarra, the last letter is added. There's shadda, so that means there's two raws in here. So when we add the alif in front of it, the ha gets a sukun, so it becomes ihmarra, like iswadda, like those are the colors. So this would be the form, and in this form, there's no, this section is not there, the maldi majhul, because it's talking about color. So there's no majhul version of it. So there's another reason that I'm not going to cover this form because that's pretty much it. It's it. So we have the alif, and then the last letter is doubled, that is added in here. So I'm going to go ahead and erase this. Just know that form 9 deals with colors and body defects. So we're just going to leave it at that because that's not the focus of our lesson that we're focusing on for the understanding of the Quran, inshallah. So this one, the last form we have is, excuse me, form 10. Now this form we have alif, sin, ta is going to be added to the verb. So we have, let's say, for example, if we have the verb gha, fa, ra, ghafara, right? So this is our basic 3-letter root letter. Ghafara means to, like, he forgave, right? Now if we add now this alif, sin, and ta, it's all 3 of them is added in front of this verb or any of the verbs that's coming. So this is form 10. Form 10 says that we add alif, sin, and ta in front of all the verbs that's coming. And what does this mean is this form represents something that it's that's coming in the future, and it's something that you're seeking, you're asking for, whether you're asking for help, whether you're asking for forgiveness, or whatever it is. So this form represents that you're asking for something that's coming, it's like for the future, it's searching, all of that. So how do we write this now together in this form? So let's write it together. Istaghfara. Istaghfara. So that's how we write it. And then, so there's the alif, sin, and ta is added. And then here's ghafara. This is added. So when we write it together, that's how we write it. All right, so now let's take this. So what does this mean? Istaghfara means to ask for forgiveness, that you're seeking forgiveness. So let's put it over here. Istaghfara. Istaghfara. Istaghfara, yastaghfiru. 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 And then masdar is istighfaran. 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 And then mustaghfirun. اسم فاعل مستغفر. مستغفر. Okay. Now let's do the ماضي مجهول. It becomes استغفر. استغفر. يستغفر. يستغفر. This remains the same. استغفارا. استغفارا. And then this becomes مستغفرا. Here, مستغفرا. مستغفرا. And then, excuse me, الأمر منه استغفر. 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 And then والسكون. And then النهي عنه لا تستغفر. تستغفر. لا تستغفر. And then الظرف منه, let's just move this here. مستغفر. It's basically the same as اسم مفعول. مستغفر. مستغفر. Okay. And this form is important because we do come across it a lot in the Quran in Form 10. So it's really good to practice these forms, inshallah. So we have, I think I've given you guys like the verbs that we've covered so far. I think we did Form 2, Form 3, and I'm trying to go back and remember which ones did we cover? Yeah, we did. I apologize. Let me just kind of look at my notes. See. Yeah, I think so far we've worked only on the basic chart of the verbs that are coming here in this form, but we haven't really gone through what I have here, all like the most common verbs that are in the Quran. So we have not covered all of those. And our point is to, inshallah, do that. So I'm going to go back. Once that my goal was to first explain the 10 forms that we have and what happens to each form, what are the changes, what's added, to each verb and where it's added. So we know that once we understand all of this, then inshallah, then we can go back and then we have our template from form 2 all the way to 10, except for form really 9. You don't really need that as much, but for what we are using, so we don't need to focus on number 9. But you have all of the other ones. So now you can put any verb in there in those form and you just follow along, and then everything just follows. It's the same. So if you get one of them, then if you find another word, let's say it's let me see, like if we have another verb here that we want to add, uh, instead of ghafara, we should, let's just say fa'ala, right? So if we have fa'ala and then we want to add alif sin ta in front of it, so it becomes istaf'ala, right? So now we have istaf'ala. So you're going to put that in here. Istaf'ala, yastaf'ilu, istif'alan, mustaf'ilun. So it follows the same pattern. That's what I'm just trying to say. So any of the verbs added with this, then it works on the same pattern. And for pattern 2, we talked about allama yu'allimu, that's the lam kalima is doubled. And then on the form 3, we have alif is added after the first letter, like jahada, but then we have form 3 is jahada, yujahidu, right? And it just goes on down the list like that. So any verb now that we have, we can plug in, and then we should be able to conjugate it like this and on this way. So now, once, alhamdulillah, now we've covered all of these till form 10. Now on the next lesson, what I need to do is go back and then focus on the verbs that it's repeated in the Quran, which we have a list of them here, and that's what I need to do that. And we're going to be doing each one of those in the form that they appear in the Quran. So some most common verbs that do come in form 2, it's all listed here. So that's the one that we're going to be focusing on, and same thing for form 3 and so on and so forth. So but for your own studies, you can basically, if you have any access to any verb, Arabic verb, you can apply to any of these 10 forms, and everything should work this way. Now you might want to be careful when it comes to verbs that are sometimes when they start. Remember we talked about mithal, ajwaf, muda'af, verbs that are like that. Sometimes they start with a hamza, or when they end with a ya, or they start with a wow. And so sometimes those verbs, it becomes a little bit tricky because, like I said, things gets dropped and eliminated altogether. And so that only comes with practice, inshallah. But for now, that's not the focus to get all so technical about things like that. Right now, you can use a lot of verbs and that we still have. And where do you get these verbs? Like I mentioned, if you get your dictionaries, or you can get the there's two things. You have the basic dictionary, and then you have the dictionary of the verbs that are made specifically for the Quran. So you can use any of those, and then go back and apply it here. There are just like what I'm trying to say is that these are verbs that does not start like with wow, or it ends with a yeah, or it starts with a hamza, or there's a hamza in the middle of it or something. So it becomes a little bit challenging for you to put it on these pattern and figure it out. Basically, you're just solving the formula. So you're plugging the number here, and then you're just applying the whole thing. So, but sometimes if you have like I said, these verbs which starts with the wow, or a yeah, starts with a yeah, or ends with a yeah, or wow, or hamza, then in these forms they change a little bit. So let's not work on those. But any other verb that's basic, like ja'ala or kataba or karima, or any of these verbs, you should be able to conjugate them fully on all of these forms, inshallah. All right, so this is where we're going to stop for this video, inshallah, we covered all of this. We're done with all form 10 forms. And then on the next video, inshallah, we're going to be going back and we're going to be focusing on each form and apply all the verbs that show up in the Quran in that form. And then we're going to cover it. We're going to put it again in the same pattern. So it becomes easier as you're reading it, as you're writing it, as you're saying it out loud. It gets stuck in our heads, inshallah. Okay. Until on the next video, Assalamu alaikum.